Hey, what's up? This is Austin Womack from KC Speed and Sport. In last week's video, I talked about different front squat grips and how to determine which grip is better for you. In this week's video, I'm going to talk about the difference between front squat and back squat and why I prescribe front squat to certain populations, specifically overhead throwing athletes, and even more specifically than that, baseball players and pitchers. So before we kind of get started, I want to talk a little bit about anterior humeral glide. What that means is when we're doing certain exercises where our arm is behind our back, so when we're in extension or external rotation, our humerus, the head of our humerus, which our humerus is this bone from our shoulder to our elbow, the head of the humerus sits in the socket right here. It's the ball and socket joint. And when we're performing movements where we're in extension or external rotation, the head of the humerus has a tendency to slide forward in the socket right here. Hence the term anterior front humeral glide. This is bad for certain populations because, for example, like a baseball player, like a pitcher, you've probably seen pictures of when they're in that layback position where the arm is in crazy external rotation. Naturally, when that happens, or when we're in extension, the humerus slides forward, and over time, when you pitch 120 pitches a game or whatever kids are doing these days, it creates a lot of instability right here in the front of your shoulder. And if you have a weak rotator cuff or insufficient rotator cuff, there is nothing that's preventing that humerus from sliding forward. That creates a lot of looseness and instability right here. It can cause irritation for that biceps tendon, which is not pleasant. We don't want that. So we want to limit this as much as possible in our training because we do it so much in our sport. But why is that relevant to squatting? Well, when people back squat, when most of my athletes that come in and back squat, their technique looks like this. Their setup looks like this. They put their hands on the bar here, and they get in this position right here. Now you'll notice, or I want you to notice what my humerus looked like. I was in this position right here. I was internally rotated, I was extended, and I was abducted. When we're in that position, our shoulders have a tendency to go forward, and that puts us in a bad position. That humerus slides forward, and that creates instability in our shoulder. Now, if we back squat every week in the off season and even in the in season, that's going to put a lot more additional stress on the front of our shoulder, create a lot more instability that we don't want, if we're already creating a ton through our sport. So that's why I prescribe front squats to all of my pitchers because we want to limit that kind of that motion of anytime we're creating anterior humeral glide, we want to limit that since we do it so much in our sport. But if you are going to back squat, this is what I want you to do. It's going to help create a better position for your shoulders. You'll see when I first did that, I had my thumbs wrapped around the bar like this. What I want you to do is actually take your thumb, place it on the outside of the bar. This is going to allow us to get our elbows underneath a little bit, get a little more external rotation. This is going to help us create a tight upper back. So we can get like this position, tight upper back. That tight upper back is going to allow us to get our shoulders back in the socket in a healthier position. So when we are squatting, we're not putting a lot of stress on our shoulder. But still, I recommend front squat for all overhead throwing populations.